This week on Irish Bandit Revolution, we wrap up Mighty Marvel Month as we take a look at the best and the worst Marvel movies, starting all the way back to the 1980s to the more recent films that have come out under Marvel Studios. Irish Bandit Revolution begins now. Welcome back to another edition of Irish Bandit Revolution. I hope everyone is having a great week. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. This week on Irish Bandit Revolution, we are wrapping up Mighty Marvel Month, and what a month it has been. Talking about the great Stan Lee, talking about all the XMen movies. Last week, my 5 favorite Marvel characters. I guess some of them were like anti-heroes, but whatever. This week on the show, like I said, we're wrapping up Mighty Marvel Month, and we're going to talk about the best and the worst Marvel movies to come out since, I really think it was back in 1989 when The Punisher came out, or maybe it was even before then with the made-for-TV Incredible Hulk movies with Lou Ferrigno. Now, one thing you have to remember is that this is all my opinion. You may not share the same opinion with me. If you like the movies that I don't like, good on you. If you don't like the movies that I like, good on you as well. That's what an opinion is. If you think that Daredevil sucked, then that's your opinion. I personally liked it. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but I personally liked Daredevil, although I did like the director's cut a little more. So we'll talk about that a little later. So we're going to talk about like different categories. Like we're just going to talk in general movies. Then we're going to talk about the Avenger movies. Then we're going to talk about everything in the Avenger Initiative movies. MCU, I guess. We'll talk about the SpiderMan movies. We'll talk about the XMen movies. We'll talk about the Punisher movies. We'll get into all of that. So let's kick it off with just in general overall, which I thought were the best and the worst Marvel movies. So when I say I'm a Marvel movie buff, that is my entire collection of Marvel-related movies. Like, of course, the Avengers, everything everything up to the Avengers. I still need to get everything after the Avengers, like from Iron Man 3 all the way to Black Panther. I've seen Iron Man 3. I've seen everything up to Thor Ragnarok. I just haven't seen Thor Ragnarok. I haven't seen Black Panther. I've seen Infinity War yet. And I'm trying my best to avoid spoilers, and it's not working so well. So I got a big FU to everyone who's posting spoilers. Thanos is not amused. So let's just talk about which I think are some of the best Marvel movies there are out there. Like just overall, everything included. Well, looking at the collection I have, and I know there's more because, lots of movies in there. Honestly and truthfully, one of the best ones that I've seen is probably The Punisher, starring Thomas Jane and Mr. Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta, that's him. I absolutely love this version of The Punisher. I love The Punisher overall. I think he's one of the most underrated superheroes there is. And he's not even a superhero. He doesn't have any superpowers. So I thought that was a great movie. I thought that was really more close to the Legend of the Punisher than the Dolph Lundgren movie from 1989 was. And I loved just the sheer campiness and brutality and violence of the Dolph Lundgren movie. I thought that was great. High body count within the first 5 minutes of the movie. But I think that the Punisher from 2004 got a lot of things right. I mean, it didn't get Frank Castle's backstory right at all. Like, he took his family out on a picnic in Central Park, witnessed a mafia killing, and his entire family died. Only he lived. They got that right in Punisher Warzone, which I absolutely appreciated. I loved the look of that movie. I thought Ray Stevenson was just a dead ringer for the Punisher. He came off the page. But there was an intensity about Thomas Jane that I really, really liked. What he brought to that role was just... He did it justice, honestly. Like, while Ray Stevenson looked like he jumped off the page, Thomas Jane was more human. Let's put it that way. He had humanity to him. So they didn't try to put it in a comic book universe like they did with Punisher Warzone. They they made it feel more real. Because especially with Punisher Warzone, you had the origin of Jigsaw. Um, Not the I want to play a game Jigsaw, but Jigsaw the mobster from the Punisher comics. I loved what they did with him. Oh, that was wonderful. Dominic West, who played him, was just outstanding as Jigsaw. And then they had what's his name? Um, I can't remember his name, but he played his brother Jim. Oh, Doug Hutchinson, I think it was. Yeah, Doug Hutchinson. I want to say that if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. But he was wonderful in the role as his brother James. Oh my God. So yeah, I absolutely loved anything with the Punisher on it. I thought everyone gave their all in it. There are some things that I didn't like about the Dolph Lundgren version, but especially when he's sitting buck ass naked meditating. We didn't need that. We didn't need to see Dolph Lundgren's butt. But yeah, anything Punisher related, I absolutely adore. I haven't watched the Punisher Netflix series yet with John Bernthal. I am gonna get to that eventually. I still need to get through Daredevil. And speaking of Daredevil, I was talking about this earlier. I absolutely loved the Daredevil movie starring Ben Affleck. Yes, I liked Daredevil. So what? I thought it was a really good movie. I thought the director's cut, though, was much better than the original. Like, if you're looking at both and saying, which one, watch the director's cut. It is better. It's an R-rated director's cut, and they have a completely new subplot with a character played by rapper Coolio, and it hands down, this was the better version. Like, far and away. I liked the original theatrical cut, but the director's cut is so much better. Other than that, I can't think of anything that would fall under the worst category, to be quite honest with you. I liked, you know, if I had to pick one, if I had to pick anything, it's going to be something I'm going to talk about later on when I talk about the Spider-Man movies. So we'll get into that in a little bit because I really want to talk about, up next, I want to talk about which Avengers movies I loved and which Avengers movies were like, I don't want to say I hated any of them, but there were just a couple that I just could not get into. So let's talk about the Avengers Initiative. So when we talk about the Avengers movies and best Avengers movie, we have to talk about the one that started it all, Iron Man. Now, I was never an Iron Man fan growing up. I thought that he was more of a secondary or third string character. But there was something about Iron Man that really pushed him up into the forefront and made him a believable character and a believable hero. And first time I watched Iron Man, though, I gotta admit, I didn't watch till the end. I watched the whole movie and I thought, oh man, that was great. Turn it off. That was it. I didn't go through the whole credits. Until somebody said, oh, there's like something extra at the end of the movie. There was nothing at the end of the movie. No. Like after you get through the credits. I never watch the credits. Like once the credits roll, boom, I'm done. I turn it off. And now I gotta stay till the end of every Marvel movie, and that's including XMen now. So watch till the end, and out comes Sam Jackson as Nick Fury, talking about the Avengers Initiative. The Avengers? They're gonna make an Avengers movie? This was the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then from there you had the Incredible Hulk, which I thought was okay. The Hulk hasn't had a great track record on the screen. With the first Hulk movie with Eric Bana, and then the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. I never saw the Hulk because I heard it was just a terrible movie. But I thought the Incredible Hulk was okay. Like, Iron Man was like this, and then Hulk was kind of like that. So I can't even put it in worst, but it definitely wasn't one of the best. Another really good one that I really enjoyed, that gets slagged for some reason, is Thor. I thought that was a great kickoff for Thor. They cast him well with Chris Hemsworth as the God of Thunder. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is just some fantastic casting. He just does a wonderful job, and it just looks like Tom Hiddleston just sinks his teeth into the role every time that you see him on screen. be it in this, be it in the Avengers, be it in Thor Dark World, wherever he shows up, it's just he steals the show. And that's one thing I absolutely love about Loki. When we go further on, you know, you had Captain America, the first Avenger. I thought that was good. Like, I've never been a huge Captain America fan, probably because I'm Canadian, and Captain America didn't connect to me. I connected more to Wolverine, Deadpool, Sabretooth, because they're Canadian. But, you know, I enjoyed Captain America, the first Avenger, for the most part. It kind of took away the bad taste of the Captain America movie from the 80s, which was really bad. So that one, I didn't mind too much. I absolutely freaking loved Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I don't know what it is about it. It just was an amazing movie from start to finish. It had a few low points, but on the whole, great action movie, great story. Like that whole thing with Gary Shandling, God rest his soul, when he walks up and goes, "Hail Hydra!" It's like, whoa, Hydra's still around. So Captain America, I wanted to love Civil War. I really wanted to love Captain America Civil War. And, you know, for the most part, I thought it was great. But I wanted it to be more. Oh. So, going with the Captain America movies, I can't rank them from best to worst because they were all good, honestly. But I do think of the three of them, Winter Soldier was the best one. And then you had the Avengers, which was everything that I wanted. Like, when you had the Avengers come out, the Dark Knight Rises came out roughly around the same time, and the Avengers was the better movie, hands down. Like, I am a massive Batman fan. He's my favorite superhero. And I was so let down by the Dark Knight Rises, to be quite honest with you. So, Avengers, I thought, was the better movie of the two major comic book movies that came out that year. And then looking at the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, well, I didn't talk about Iron Man 2. I thought that was okay. I didn't really care for Iron Man 3 all that much. I didn't care for Thor the Dark World all that much. I thought Ant-Man was really good. I thought Age of Ultron could have been better. Like, it was the sequel It wasn't the sequel I was waiting for, because, you know, when you were watching Avengers and Thanos turn around and smiled and with his big chiclet-like teeth, that's what I was waiting for the second movie. But then we got Age of Ultron, which, okay, put it on a slow burn. I'm okay with that. And now we got Infinity War. So looking at the rest of the movies up to, because like I said, I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet. Looking at the rest of the movies, let me just think here. Ant-Man was good. It was really good, actually. I really enjoyed Ant-Man. Doctor Strange, I thought was really good as well. That's all I can remember. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, yes. Sorry, I had an itch there that I couldn't hold off on anymore. And I'm so far into shooting to cut. So anyway, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, when I heard Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't know what to think of this. Like, is it a comedy? Is it an action movie? Is it going to work? And it worked well. I absolutely loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was well cast, with cast includes Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, Batista, Dave Batista, but I know him as Batista from the WWE. Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon. Michael Rooker as Yondu. Oh, Yondu. Oh. I have shed too many freaking tears at an Avengers movie, like the first Avengers movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm probably going to feel the same way after everything I've been hearing in Infinity War. So, yeah, I still need to watch Thor Ragnarok, and I still need to watch Black Panther, and I still need to watch Infinity War. But I'm going to get to them. I am going to get to them eventually, so I'll let you know sooner or later what I think of all of them, because I think Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther are out and available on Google Play. So I might just have to rent those one night and watch them. So I think that'll be a good night. All right. right, well, let's talk about another great series. Well, it had its highs and lows. I'm not gonna admit that. I'm not gonna dispute that it had its low points. But on the whole, you had the three original movies and the two reboots. Uh, Honestly, I thought the trilogy was better than the two reboots. But let's talk about the amazing wall crawler, Spider-Man. So, out of the five Spider-Man movies, honestly, I'd have to say Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. Like, I love the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. I think he did a great job. It was funny because I was talking with my brother and my nephew when it was announced that Tobey Maguire would be cast as Spider-Man. And we were talking about this and said, yeah, Spider-Man's going to be played by Tobey Maguire. My brother, Tobey Maguire? He's kind of a geek. And my nephew, who's like 12 or 13 at this time, goes, well, yeah, Uncle Mark. Isn't that who Spider-Man is? You got it, little man. Yeah. Peter Parker was supposed to be a geek. So I think Tobey Maguire was great casting on the part of the producers, on the part of Sam Raimi. He did a fantastic job directing the first movie. Did an even better job on the second movie. I thought although I will admit there were some parts that kind of called back to Sam Raimi's horror past. Some really cheesy moments when Dr. Octavius they were trying to cut the tentacles off of Dr. Octavius and turn into a total B horror movie. I thought they could have done without that, but other than that, I thought it was a great movie. I loved Bruce Campbell popping up at random times through all three movies. Whether you had him as the wrestling announcer, you had him as which one was he in the second one? Oh yeah, he was the theater guy in the second movie when Mary Jane was having her performance. Then he was the maitre d' in the third movie. I loved him as the maitre d' in the third movie. He was one of the few things that I liked about the third movie, honestly and truthfully. As for the Amazing Spider-Man, I like the first Amazing Spider-Man. Honestly, I thought Andrew Garfield did a good enough job after Tobey Maguire. Because it's like I said before, after I watched the Amazing Spider-Man, I saw on Facebook. It took me about an hour to warm up to Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. It took me about 20 minutes to warm up to Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man. So I thought Andrew Garfield did a fantastic job as Spider-Man in the first movie. It gets maligned a bit, but, I like The Amazing Spider-Man. It had a great cast behind it with Andrew Garfield, Sally Field as Aunt May. I saw a funny meme about Spider-Man and Aunt May in the movies. You have Rosemary Harris as Aunt May in the first three movies. Sally Field as Aunt May in The Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Marissa Tomei as Aunt May in Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming. Aunt May's just Benjamin buttoning her way through these Spider-Man movies, and she's getting hotter too. Let's face it. I got no shame. Marissa Tomei is like 45 years old, and she's still smoking hot. Sally Field's still beautiful as ever. But a great cast. Like I said, Andrew Garfield, Sally Field. You had Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. That was some great casting right there. You had Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy. Emma Stone. Oh, I love Emma Stone, and she did fantastic as Gwen Stacy. She was my favorite part, and the romance between her and Peter felt more realistic than the romance between Peter and Mary Jane in 3 movies. 3 frickin' movies, and they couldn't get the chemistry right. They did it in 1 in The Amazing Spider-Man. So I thought Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone had fantastic chemistry together. They had better chemistry than Tobey Maguire and Kristen Dunst. Like, no joke, hands down. I think at the time they were dating too, so that could have helped. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 I thought were great. Spider-Man 3, what a freaking headache of a movie that was. There were some good points about that movie. I absolutely loved Thomas Hayden Church as Flint Marko, the Sandman. I thought he did great. I thought, on the negative side, I thought this was overbloated with too many villains. And Topher Grace as Venom, come on. Like, get serious. Topher Grace is Eddie Brock. No, no, no. I was thinking more like Brock Lesnar as Eddie Brock at that time. Because if you've seen the comic books, Eddie Brock was like this jacked up bodybuilder who was a freelance photographer whose jealousy for Peter Parker made the symbiote fuse with him to become Venom. So I'm really hoping that Tom Holland does a good job as no, not Tom Holland. He's doing a good job as Spider-Man. I hope Tom Hardy does a good job as Venom because let's face it, he sucked as Bane. My opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you think he did a good job, hey, good on you. I thought he sucked as Bane. But yeah, Spider-Man 3 was just a mess, overblown with too many villains. Then you had emo Peter. The less said about that, the better. And Spider-Man 2 was just kind of there, honestly. It wasn't anything special. You had this really weird debut for the Green Goblin. If you could even call him the Green Goblin, because we always knew that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. But not as much of a mess as Spider-Man 3, but not one that I particularly enjoy, honestly. Sad to say. Oh, and we got to talk about, the less we say about these two movies, the better. Actually, 3 if we want to count the reboot. But I'm throwing them in there because I've seen the first 2 and they were terrible. Well, the second one was better than the first one, but the second one was still kind of crappy. And I got to throw in a dishonorable mention to the Fantastic Four movies. It just seemed like everyone on there, except for one person, it seemed like they were all there just for a paycheck. Jennifer Alba, no, yeah, Jessica Alba, Jennifer Alba. Jessica Alba, it just looked like she was there for a paycheck. Chris Evans, who was the Human Torch before he was Captain America. I think he really redeemed himself as Captain America after putting in such a terrible performance as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. The only person I think who was there who was actually a fan was Michael Chiklis, who played Ben Grimm the Thing. He was outstanding in both movies. I thought the second movie was a little better. You had Silver Surfer, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, which is always great casting. You can get a voice that recognizable to portray Silver Surfer, then that's awesome in my book. But still, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, and the less said about the Fantastic Four remake, the better. I didn't even watch it. I heard it was that bad. I don't intend to watch it anytime soon. And that leaves us with just one more franchise to talk about. I think this one has been one of the better ones. It has its highs, it has its lows. I did the retrospective of it for the last 3 weeks. And of course, we're talking about the X-Men movies. So yeah, I won't take up too much time talking about the X-Men movies because I talked about them for 3 weeks straight. No, with a break in between 1 and 2, but let's not talk about that. So what I'll really say is that for the most part, I enjoyed the X-Men movies. I think the best one of the... Well, let's take away Deadpool and let's take away the Wolverine movies and let's just focus in on the core X-Men movies. X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Let's just focus on those 6 movies. Of the 6, I think the best were X-Men, First Class, and Days of Future Past. I thought those were just outstanding movies from start to finish. Great debut for the X-Men in the first movie. I thought First Class was a well-told story talking about how Xavier and Lencher brought the X-Men together, brought the school together, brought Cerebro together. And I thought Days of Future Past just had an amazing story focusing on Wolverine going back to the past to try and stop events from happening. The worst movies, while it's not terrible, I do think X-Men Last Stand could have been better. There were some great moments in it. Like, I think my favorite moment is near the end of the movie when Shadowcat is running away from Juggernaut, and you just hear him go, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" I'm not a big Vinnie Jones fan. I think he's a terrible actor, but he was great in that movie as the Juggernaut. He was just, I loved him. And I didn't really, like I said a couple weeks ago, I thought that X-Men Apocalypse could have been better. When your main villain looks like Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, you might want to rethink things a little bit. I thought, Apocalypse in the comic book and in the animated series was much more impressive looking than he was in the movie. Something got lost in translation somewhere along the way. And if we add back in Wolverine and Deadpool all the way. Deadpool was a fantastic movie. It was funny. It was action-packed. Ryan Reynolds was just wonderful as Deadpool. I can't wait to see Deadpool 2. I think of the Wolverine movies, Logan was the absolute best. It had a heart behind it. It had a story. It had fantastic action. And it was such a touching end to Wolverine's story. And such a touching way for Hugh Jackman to say goodbye to Wolverine, the character he's been playing since the year 2000. And I thought X-Men Origins Wolverine was just a mess. A fun mess, but a mess nonetheless. So, yeah, that's my overall thoughts of all those movies. Like I said, if there were any movies on here that you liked that I didn't like X-Men Apocalypse or Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, more power to you. That's awesome. You found something in it that I didn't, honestly. So that's great. You could like something. You could like X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's great. And if you didn't like a movie that I liked, that's fine too. So yeah, Marvel movies are continuing at an staggering rate. We just had Infinity. I keep on calling it Affinity War. Infinity War. That was just released. We're gonna have Ant-Man and the Wasp coming out soon. When we're looking at X-Men movies, Dark Phoenix is coming out. Deadpool 2 is coming out very, very soon, and I cannot wait for that. And yeah, there might be a little bit of comic book burnout after this, to be quite honest with you. So we'll just have to wait and see. But the future for comic book movies, superhero movies, is looking intense. So we'll have to see what comes around the bend. Before we wrap up this episode, I just want to thank you, the members of the Irish Bandit Posse, for joining me for Mighty Marvel Month. I know it was a little bit longer than a month, and we did have that 1 week break. I needed the time off, honestly, and I'm going to be taking a little more time off after this season has wrapped up. I'll get more on that later. But I want to thank you for joining me for this month. I had so much fun doing these episodes, and I hope to do it again very, very soon. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. What are some of your favorite and least favorite Marvel movies? Let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to share this video anywhere you can on any social media outlet. In the description, you're going to find a link to my Redbubble store where you can get all your Irish Bandit merchandise, be it t-shirts, baseball shirts, Lady Racerback tank tops, leggings, phone cases for iPhone and Samsung. I would really like to pick up a Irish Bandit Revolution case for my iPhone. I think that'd look pretty slick. You can also find stickers. You can also find travel mugs, coffee mugs, anything your heart desires. You can get all that in the link in the description down below. Over my shoulder right here, you're going to see a link to last week's episode where I'm counting down my 5 favorite Marvel characters. And don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, don't forget to tap that bell and you'll be notified whenever I upload anything new. Speaking of uploading new, oh boy, whole bunch coming this week. Yesterday, you had the new episode of Fire Expired for Bad Wolf's debut album, Disobey. I'm going to leave a link at the very end of this episode for that. Tomorrow, you're getting a brand new episode of the Toy Chest, brand new pop figure that I picked up, and it is the biggest pop figure in my collection. Then you're going to get 3 more episodes of the Toy Chest coming in next few Wednesdays. Let's see, Friday, you're going to see my reactions to the season finale of Riverdale. I've been looking so forward to this for the past few weeks. Going to see that. I think Saturday I might also do another reaction to the series finale of Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time was one of my favorite TV shows. I stopped watching it after season 5, though. And I watched the first episode of the 2-part series finale. And it was actually pretty good. So I might do a reaction to that. I don't know yet, but we'll see. And is there anything else coming up? Yes, Irish Bandit Extra from last week is going to be coming up very, very soon too. So be on the lookout for that. All right, next week is speaking of season finales, next week is the season 10 finale of Irish Bandit Revolution. But not only that, it is a milestone episode, as it will be the 100th episode of Irish Bandit Revolution. We've made it to 100, guys. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to get more of that next week. But it is the season finale. It is the 100th episode. I'm not going to be doing comments. I'm not going to be doing normal things I do at the season finale. I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite episodes of Irish Bandit Revolution that I have done. So I hope you guys can join me for the 100th episode, season finale. It is going to be a celebration. All right, guys. Well, I will see you again for that episode next week, and I'll see you again for all the videos coming up. Like I said, link at the very end of this video for the Bad Wolves review. Other than that, guys, have a great week, and I will see you again for the 100th episode of Irish Bandit Revolution. I'm the Bandit. I'm out of here. See you guys next week, and I cannot wait.